So today I'm going to be documenting a Mazda CX5 of the year 2013, the Skyactiv 2.2 liter diesel. It has got a problem with the diesel particle filter. They emptied the insides of the DPF, and right now the vehicle from time to time smokes white smoke from the exhaust, and also it's consuming a lot of fuel. I think if you check some of my other videos, I already talked about what would be happening, why you would be seeing white smoke, and why the diesel consumption will be very high. So what we're going to be doing is, I've actually collected this car from my client. I am going to be working it. Then when we are done, we'll show you just how it's now performing and how everything has changed. So what it was doing, this vehicle, was that it had the entire dash lit up, right? So what they did, which was a temporary measure, is they cleared the faults. They regenerated the vehicle and cleared the faults, and for now it's seeming as if there is no fault whatsoever. But if I drive it, I think for about a couple of kilometers, let's say about at the most 50 kilometers, everything should light up, should come back to light up again. So what we are going to implement is a more permanent solution, which means the DPF would have been dealt with once and for all, would have completely converted it to a non-DPF. That's exactly what we're going to be doing on this video. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the video. I'm not sure if you can properly see this, but the car is definitely smoking, right? You can see white smoke coming from the exhaust, right? Definitely smoking. This is the white smoke that we are seeing. Is definitely smoking. So this is what we are going to be resolving, right? DPF malfunction. This is a new car that came from Australia, and it's smoking white smoke. So in case you are joining me today, I just want to let you know that we've got a video that I created, which painstakingly explains what is really going on, how these DPFs work, and why you shouldn't keep driving a vehicle the moment that you see a DPF light, or if you see a DPF error message coming out of your vehicle. You should definitely watch that, as it should give you a lot more detail as to what will be going on. Okay. So with this Mazda CX5, if you are having a DPF problem, definitely you're going to see any of the error codes that you're looking at on the screen. Okay. And in the case of this particular CX5 that we are working on, it first of all, they imported it, I think, 2 weeks ago, and they drove it all the way from the border to Harare, right? And when they got into Harare, that's when the problem started. That is, after they had driven about 400 kilometers, that's when the problem started. So immediately when the problem started, like I said, the entire dash came on. Everything was there was a check engine light, there was a DPF light, even the traction control had disengaged itself. I understand this is what these vehicles do when they are in limp mode. They would definitely disengage traction control, and when this happens, they start to jerk, right? As if something is wrong with your transmission. Every time it changes gear up or gear down, you definitely feel a jerk that will make you feel as if probably something is breaking inside your transmission, or something is happening inside your transmission. So that's the problem, that how the vehicle started to misbehave. But the moment they put it on a diagnostic machine, they saw that it was talking about DPF, and hence they brought it to us. Okay, so that's the different vehicles obviously have got their own different way of operating when they're in safe mode. But I want to let you know that if your vehicle is jerking, if you've got a CX5 and is jerking like this, and you are seeing these fault codes, that's completely normal, because it is definitely in safe mode. The first thing that you need to do, of course, is to deal with that safe mode, and then everything would normalize, as you will see as we go with this video. obviously the traction control will start to work. That's 1. 2, even the I-stop will definitely start to work as well, right? So in general, when your vehicle has got a DPF problem, there are basically 3 things that's going to happen. Okay, the first thing that's going to happen is that obviously the check engine light is going to come on, or a DPF light is going to come on, and then you will see those error codes that are associated with the DPF once you connect a diagnostic tool. That's number 1. Number 2, you're definitely going to see a change in your fuel consumption. Definitely your fuel consumption will go up, right? Because what's really happening is that the vehicle is trying to increase exhaust temperatures to, let's say, up to 1,000 degrees Celsius. So there's going to be a lot of overfueling that's going to be happening with the vehicle, right? And hence you hear a lot of people complaining about high diesel consumption on a vehicle which has got a DPF or that's having a DPF problem. It's got nothing to do with your injectors. The truth is it has everything to do with what's going on in the exhaust. And it's just the situation of the exhaust that has to be resolved, and everything is fine. And then the last thing that you're going to see, some vehicles, yes, you may see this, which is white smoke coming out of the exhaust. Usually white smoke will come out of the exhaust because maybe the DPF would have been hollowed. So as white smoke is coming out of the exhaust, that's road diesel fuel that is coming out of the exhaust, right? And it doesn't come regularly. Sometimes as you are driving, everything is just fine, just like what happened when we collected this vehicle. It was just fine, right? It was just fine. But having driven, I think 2 minutes after just driving, then already we are starting to see smoke, right? And again, if you switch, sometimes when you switch off the vehicle, if you switch it on, there is no smoke whatsoever. But after driving some minutes, again the smoke comes back, and you usually see that as you are in traffic, right? So that's the third thing. Those are the 3 things that usually happen when you are having a DPF issue. And also loss of power. That's the fourth, probably most important. Loss of power. That's another thing that happens. Now, this loss of power really happens mostly because one, the vehicle could be in limp mode, right? Of course, it would have detected that something is wrong with the DPF, and therefore it gets into limp home mode, where it does not some vehicles start acting like a non-turbo with no power whatsoever. That's how, because it's trying to protect itself, right? And another reason why it would lose power is probably because the turbo is already dead. Why it would be dead is because the DPF causes a lot of pressure in the exhaust system, which then comes back to destroy the turbo. So basically, those are the issues that you're going to encounter when you're having a DPF problem. But I think, as I mentioned earlier, I already have a video that if you check on our YouTube channel, that fully explains what is really going on, right? And how we solve this is we really do a conversion to non-DPF. Now, I know that in some countries this is not exactly legal, right? Especially your European countries, or in Japan, or those countries which have got strict emission laws. I'll tell you that here in Africa, the vehicles that we are producing, for example, the one that looks like this, the same CX5 that we are producing in South Africa does not have a DPF. It does not have a DPF and AdBlue systems, okay? But the ones that are coming from UK, the ones that are coming from Japan would come with a DPF and would come with an AdBlue system, right? This is because here in Africa we don't have such laws, such strict emission laws, right? So therefore you'd find your Mazda, your Toyota, or those manufacturers producing vehicles without these DPF or AdBlue systems. So most of the times you'd find out that for us here in Africa, it's actually cheaper to import a vehicle from Europe or import it from Japan than buying from South Africa. Those cars are most of the times expensive, and honestly, I have no idea why they are so expensive. It's probably because they are perceived to be stronger. I don't know why and how, but I would like to believe because this is the only difference between those vehicles from Japan and those from Europe. Between those cars from Europe and Japan with those that are from South Africa. Those from South Africa don't have these DPF systems or any restrictions on the exhaust. They are they just have a free flow exhaust. That's what they are. So basically, that's how we resolve the issue on these vehicles. And
And if you are watching from UK, if you are watching from Japan, like I said, or even Australia, I would like to believe that in your country this is perceived as illegal, but for us here in Africa it's completely legal, and we do it. And after we have done it, you would find out that your vehicle would actually last even longer, because those which have got a DPF, usually because of that restriction on the exhaust, we end up killing the turbo, right? And even the engine as well, and your EGR systems, right? But those, when it has been converted, when it's got a free flow exhaust, it means your turbo is much happier, which brings us to the benefits. So number one, that's going to be your turbo will be much happier, right? Your engine will have more power, generally more power. And you also realize that in terms of your consumption, your fuel consumption will improve, right? Will improve dramatically from how it was performing before, right? Remember, I said that the vehicle would be deliberately overfueling so as to increase exhaust temperatures. But just because it has been converted to non-DPF, what it means is that there is no more that need for the engine computer to deliberately want to overfuel so as to raise those exhaust temperatures. It means that it will just operate just like those which are being assembled in South Africa. So definitely you're going to see an improvement on your fuel consumption, right? And I think I also talked about the issue of limp mode. You obviously not have any of those DPF related limp mode, and in this case with this vehicle, obviously, in this CX5, we are not going to see that jerking anymore. We are not going to see that limit of power. It's just going to perform as a perfect vehicle, right? So that's how we resolve those vehicles. And as we had been working on this CX5, I'm just going to show you the results, how it then came out as we tested it and how it started to perform.
Okay, so I finished sorting out the vehicle. The next thing I'm now doing is I'm taking it on a road test. Drive about 40 kilometers to about 70, just to make sure and be satisfied that everything is okay. So far, all the lights are off. I'm not in limp mode, and through my mirrors I can see there is no smoke coming out whatsoever. So I'm going to drive some more and just make sure everything is okay before I release the vehicle. So I've done about 10 kilometers on the highway. I'm just observing for smoke. Before I couldn't have done like 10 kilometers already. It would have started smoking, but so far I can see there is no smoke whatsoever. 50 kilometers to go now. So let me proceed with the remaining 50 kilometers, and then we release the vehicle to the client. So I've done a total of 60 kilometers now. You can see that the dashboard is clean. There is no check engine light. There are no funny lights showing in the dashboard. And if we go out here, all this time I've been driving, ever since I finished this vehicle, I haven't seen any white smoke coming out. So it's idling right now. You can see there is no white smoke coming from this vehicle whatsoever. It's perfectly clean, right? So we are done here. So another thing that I want to mention is you see that I-stop signal, that's I-stop sign that's showing in the instrument cluster. I'm not sure if you can see it, right? That's illuminated in green, right? Before it wasn't showing because the car was in limp mode, because the car but now it's now showing, which means the I-stop system is now working on this vehicle. You see, when this car came to me, this I-stop wasn't working. So I'd like to believe that if your Mazda CX5 has got a DPF problem, obviously it's definitely going to shut down your I-stop as well. And how this I-stop is working, it's more or less like the same in the Mercedes, where if you stop, the engine will stop as well, right? So right now I've just stopped. If I depress the brakes fully, right, the engine will immediately shut off, right? And when I release the brakes, then then the car starts and then I drive away as I'm doing right now. So I think this is part of a cocktail of measures that have been implemented on this vehicle to reduce pollution and to save you fuel, something like that. Yeah.
So that is our solution, right? If you are having a DPF problem with your Mazda CX5, any other Mazda or other brands, you can contact us on the details that you're looking at on the screen, right? Remember, all our solutions are lifetime, right? And they come with a guarantee, right? So you know that you never have DPF problems on your vehicle ever again, right? I also encourage you to subscribe to our channel and also check out our Facebook page. There's a lot of cool information that we always posting on our Facebook page. Follow it and like it. And if you've got any questions, you can send us, you can write it in the comments below, or even send us a message on WhatsApp, right? Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a good day.
We are a chosen generation. We've been called for to show His excellence. All I require for life, God has given me, for I know who I am. I know